Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What is that?
Los pollos humanos.
Humanos?
I don't know. As I said that, I'm like, what is it? Hermanos?
I don't like the chicken men either. I don't like the chicken humans.
Yeah. All right. So we watched the end of the Mandalorian.
We did. All of it.
All right, so the first episode up of our epic ending is episode 6, The Prisoner. This is the one early on I was not sure where you're going to come out with. This is the one I was curious about. Not just because of Space Boston, but also because it is just literally, we are doing the most set piece of set piece thing. The only thing that makes a difference is it's in the Star Wars universe, and I kind of love it.
Well, yeah, I honestly am still torn about this episode because, again, watching the whole thing, when this episode was on, I was thinking about man, I kind of like this more one-off adventures versus dealing with Baby Yoda and stuff like that. And the Gunslinger episode previously, although I didn't like that one, was a little bit more like that as well, where it's just the old Hulk TV show or The Fugitive, where it's yes, there's this overarching thing, but we're going to go do this. But some stuff happens at the end that they bummed me out. But overall, I thought this was a fun episode. Some of it was buoyed by all the guest stars that I was just excited to see. That might not necessarily be the fairest shake to give a thing, but it worked for me.
I mean, I think casting plays into stuff. It is fun.
Yeah.
What I really loved about this one, and I mean, obviously, it's doing nothing inventive. It's just, I mean, other than technically, how they film it, yada yada. But the story, it's the same. This story has been done up hundreds of times. But I like how they're sticking with he's a bounty hunter and therefore hangs out with scumbags.
Yes, I mean this is what I've been wanting for a lot of this series, and so even even if there were a bunch of episodes of just this kind of thing, I would be pretty happy with it. Although this is not to say that this episode did not have its issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. So I think it starts off super strong that it basically just starts with him meeting the guy. We don't have to deal with the phone call. It's just, hey, what's up, shady guy from my past? Oh, you need another guy for your crew? And then 6 seconds later, It's literally, hey, let me introduce you to my crew. It's so great.
I mean, and I am a sucker for stupid heist things or bits in movies where they get the team together. So yeah, I'm already it's got me.
And so they quickly go through. Do you know why we know that the guy that puts the team together?
Yeah, Mark Boone Jr. The thing is he plays that guy in so many things.
That's what
he's scummy in Memento. He was a scummy biker in Sons of Anarchy. I think he's the scummy cop in Batman Begins.
Oh, you know what? That actually, he plays Harvey Bullock in Batman Begins.
Yeah. He's just always that guy, and I love him. I think he's great.
It's not one thing. It's just one of those. What do you call that kind of actor?
Well, I mean, he's a character actor, but he literally just does that.
I thought there might be another term for that because a character actor tends to do multiple characters. This guy just does that. He just does that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he's great. But then he introduced to Bill fucking Burr, who, speaking of people aging, Bill Burr looks great for his age. He looks pretty fucking fit for a man, probably above 50 at this point. Looks like he belongs on TV or movies, which, I mean, this is relatively recent that he's made the change from just being a stand-up to...
Yeah, I mean, he had a bit part in Breaking Bad.
But I mean, that's not that many years ago. He had a 20-year career of, if you put a list of the guys most likely to end up becoming well-respected actors, Bill Burr is very low on that list. So
right.
It's nice
to be in something that isn't called Fart College.
Exactly.
Or something.
Yeah. Nothing by the National Lampoon. But he's great, and I love his intros. He goes, "All right, that guy over there, that's Berg. Wild guess, he's the muscle. That's Zero the droid. By the way, Richard Iowati as Zero the droid is the best casting that's ever happened."
Yeah, it's because it took me a second to figure out the voice, and I'm like, oh, he's just doing Moss from the IT
so
crowd.
good.
It's like, that's fine. I mean, if they gave him like an afro or like, glasses, it would have been a bit too much. But otherwise, it was great.
If they did any kind of IT crowd reference like that, I would have hated it. But just casting Richard Iowati is terrific.
Well, and I think that's something that I appreciate about this episode is that it like. It may just be that this is a low bar, but it knows what it's doing in terms of like, yes, this is just a stupid space heist thing. Yes, here are the people, but we're having fun with it. Like, so let's just get through this. There's a spirit of levity to it that I do enjoy.
Yeah, I think the tone, and I think that comes from Taika Waititi directing it.
Actually, no, he didn't do this one.
I thought he did this one.
Rick Famuyiwa.
Oh, okay, well, take it back. Well, Rick Famuyiwa did a fucking bang up job.
He directed this movie Dope. As well as a bunch of other stuff, but he's I liked his work in this. He actually appears in this briefly with some
Dave Filoni and
Deborah Chow.
He got the tone right. That's why I thought it was Taika. Like, he got tonally just nailed this. The spots that needed to kind of come off as serious. I don't want to use that term because Ocean's 11 serious.
Just but like I mean it tries to have a little bit more weight, but but isn't like Christopher Nolan. Serious.
It really ran the line well because there's an early spot that I think like Dave Filoni, who did who directed the early ones. I mean, I shouldn't shit on him. Maybe he didn't, but like where they're trying to introduce everybody while they're sitting on the ship, and it's basically Bill Burr just being annoying. And that could have been annoying instead of just his character being annoying, if you follow me. Like, if the direction if that tone doesn't hit perfectly right. And I think they got that. It came across so much as that character is irritating and just a sleaze, Elon Sleaze Bagano levels annoying.
Right. But it's also, but it kind of fits well with, I think that's Bill Burr to a certain degree, where it's like, he'll say this really stupid, offensive stuff, but it's like, you're still kind of laughing and playing along. Yeah.
And he had
so it works.
He had a great line where when Baby Yoda gets introduced, and he points to the Twi'lek, and he's like, "Yeah, did you two make that?" Which I found delightful.
But I also this scene did remind me of something I liked in the original Star Wars movies versus some of the other ones. Is just make him speak alien, man. Just have the Devaronian or whatever he's called speak that language. Don't have them all just speak English. I hate that. Or basic, I guess it's called the Star Wars universe. It's just it doesn't matter. It's just more of a personal preference thing. But I always just like when someone says "ba ba boo ba," and the other guy's like, "Yeah, I know, totally," and they somehow understand each other.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't in this scene. I think there's other parts where that works. This one I'm fine just because they're on the same crew. Yeah.
No, it's totally fine. It's just I always like that.
Yeah, I do as well.
They've abandoned doing that for the most part, and I always just like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about. I like how he was doing sign language with the
sand people.
Yeah. What are they actually called though?
Tusken Raiders. Yeah. Tusken Raiders. Yeah. Because I'm even saying it. I'm like. That can't be right. Did I just? Am I gonna have to cut? Well,
this? So there's a running joke that "sand people" is like a really, really horrible prejudicial phrase on the Star Wars Minute podcast I like. But so they call them the native Tatooiners, just because it's just a fun way to dodge using racial slur, calling them the native Tatooiners.
Yeah,
but
nice.
Tusken Raiders. But I do like that. I like when they speak. I also like the same with droid stuff, where like Mark Hamill's like, "What's that, R2?" Yeah, I am flying the X. Yeah, like I like people. Yeah, that is fun. But this whole section I really liked. I liked Bill Burr doing the bad Jar Jar Binks impression.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Although, like, wow, just racism against Gungans out of nowhere. I think one negative spot in this whole thing is Natalia Tena, Jian, I think is what her name was. Little big, like really, really chewing up the scenery, which it was, well, it's like, but then I also like the idea of this is actually just how Twi'leks are.
Yeah.
the alien race. So I'm like, you really don't see anything other than Bib Fortuna, who spoke a different language, by the way. Yeah, exactly. But just that they're all just like theater kids as a race.
That actually is part of the Twi'lek kind of thing. They're all like kind of arty weirdos. But in this one, I think the lady's just not that good of an actress. I think
it was a little too big. It was a little too broad.
I'll tell you what what my thought was. I think she was going for Pricks from Blade Runner.
For what?
Priss, not Pricks. Yeah, Priss.
I was like, she's going for what?
Yeah, that's close. I was only one letter off and didn't tell you what I was talking about, so obviously you should have gotten it. But I think she was going, because if you watch her mannerisms, the way she's smiling, the way she's kind of moving in that kind of like language catty kind of way, I think she was trying to go for that and just didn't quite land it. Or she's just a weird actress.
I think that kind of... Yeah, I think that kind of archetype is not limited to just Priss. But,
well, I mean, it's a sci-fi movie with a kind of sexy, weird looking, kind of alien type. It's pretty easy to draw the line.
And like for how silly this whole thing is, silly is the right word, but you know what I mean. Like how just more pulpy and fun this is. Like it's great, but I just think she was a little
silly's
much.
Perfect, because here's my note I have here, because I keep going back to how much this feels like Star Wars to me. So a devil, a pink worm head, a space Bostonian with a mental controlled shoulder gun walk into a prison that's floating through space. Fucking weird as shit. Yeah. That's Star Wars. Yeah. Like that's that weird level Star Wars that I love.
What's the same thing going back to talking about like forgiving stuff because of the cameos and the actors involved. Like Clancy Brown is Berg, the Deveranian, or again, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But but like even he's pretty big and ridiculous. But it's like, yeah, but it's Clancy Brown, so I'm okay with it. So it didn't bother me as much. But he's kind of ridiculous as well.
Well, him being big and ridiculous, I was fine with, because that character is like literally he's written as that big ridiculous guy. I think that's I didn't realize that was Clancy Brown. That's crazy.
But one thing, Bill Burr does mention that because he was like an ex sharpshooter for the Imperial.
Oh, another great line. Yeah.
Forces. Yeah. And like, he's like, oh, I'm not that grown. You know, it makes a whole thing about that. But I like to imagine, this is my headcanon now, and this explains away Space Boston, is that he is indeed vat grown, but something went a little bit wrong. And that's why you get the Boston accent. And like, so Bostonianism is an error.
Yeah.
It's a genetic error.
Yeah, my genetics went all shit, kid. Yeah, I love it. It's perfect. That was not the line I was thinking of. Was when he's a sharpshooter and they say something about it, he's like, I wasn't a stormtrooper. Because it's established that stormtroopers suck at shooting. It's not over the top. They're not putting a hat on it, but it's a delightful line. Pays off for Star Wars nerds. Other people could ignore it. It feels like Star Wars.
But yeah, so they have to go break into. He's hired to go with this ragtag group to go break into what ends up being a Republic ship, a prison ship that's run only by droids, to go bust someone out of jail. And I like that. I like this portrayal of the New Republic because I've grown to hate the New Republic. And how it is this, like, it's this prison thing, but it's only manned by droids. This one guy, when at the end, when those guys show up, when the X-Wing people show up, they all just look like crummy cops. I mean, I know it's the directors, but that's kind of why, because they're just sort of regular looking people. But it just makes it seem very distant and ineffective, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not actually involved in people's lives. And that's a weird read into it, but it's something that made me very happy just because I don't like the New Republic.
No, it works. I think there's kind of, even the Rebellion kind of design, they have that, not the Rebellion, the Old Republic, I guess, whatever the hell, the people from the prequels.
Yeah. Had
that kind of distant, where just everything's been running so well that we don't have to deal with it kind of thing, and they're trying to rebuild that. And I kind of like some of the aesthetic choices, even in the new movies. Some of the aesthetic choices of the New Republic were smart, though I don't think they did it well enough to point out that the New Republic is a bad idea and poorly run. Like, it probably would have made more interesting movies if they actually pointed that out. But the look of them kind of run that way. It's like, oh, you were just trying to rebuild Rome real easy. Like, we're not going to worry about any of the infrastructure. We're just going to just immediately go to what we're doing. Roads, fuck roads. We don't need roads. Let's worry about the columns.
But yes, but I think also that this the sort of the claustrophobic nature of this ship. You know, for budgetary reasons, maybe, you know, it's just these couple of hallways, but I also felt it worked real well.
Oh yeah.
To kind of keep everything feeling very tight and kept the action up.
There was a delightful sequence where they run into they're on the ship and they're trying to infiltrate the ship. They basically just let Mando just dominate those robots, and Bill Burr actually holds people back from helping him. And he just gives this little like, nice, yeah, good job. Oh God, Star Wars is so good when it's good.
Yeah. Well, I also just like that kind of, you know, the kind of cartoonish rogue thing of just like, well, you know, we brought this guy around, let's see what he can do, versus like we need to actually stop this guy. It's like, well, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of comic booky stuff I really enjoyed.
And his flamethrowers finally fucking worked.
Yeah, there's a running theme in this of his flamethrower.
It's so great.
And again, not to jump too far ahead, but with the flamethrower, like Imperial guy shows up at the end, it's like, this is how flamethrowers work, you idiot.
Yeah, totally.
And it made me real happy.
There's also a fun flamethrower gag. I love when he shoots the devil guy in the face, and of course fire doesn't affect the devil.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, I like when they realize that there's an actual human on board, and they go into like the guy that's running the ship, and they kind of focus on his shoes and matching belt, which kind of goes into what we're talking about with the New Republic. And I think Bill Burr even makes a comment about like nice shoes. Yeah,
he makes a comment about his shoes, and it's also that he's wearing the dumb helmet.
Yeah.
Which they kept that going. I like they brought that back because those helmets were always very silly, and
I liked the Empire version of those, like those guys that were near the big laser cannon on the Death Star. Remember those dudes with the giant kind of? Yeah. They almost look like modern bike racing helmets.
Sure, it almost looked like they almost have like a big underbite in the front. Yeah. Love those things. But yeah, so I again, it's nice to see that kind of aesthetic still in play.
And they've got this weird. So they take over the ship or try to, and the guy's got a tracking fob. Not a tracking fob, but he's got a panic button that'll call the New Republic in. And they have this four-way standoff. And there's a weird Usual Suspects reference, like with Bill Burr. And I don't know if that was purposeful.
I may have missed it. What did you say?
Remember in Usual Suspects where Chris Penn is like, "Get that gun in my daddy's face"?
Oh, that's
Reservoir Dogs. I'm sorry. What was I saying?
Usual Suspects.
Oh yeah, that's the same movie. I know it's not the same movie, but I saw them within a week of each other when I was like 14. It's
obviously, like we all do.
Yeah, my brain has yeah. So that Chris Penn, "Get that gun in my daddy's face," the way that Bill Burr is doing the "Get that blaster in my face, Mando," has the same kind of sing-song Chris Penn cadence.
Sure.
Weirdly, I remembered Chris Penn's name, but I didn't remember the name of that movie. I don't understand my brain. My old man brain is
different.
Weird.
Just Swiss cheese in different.
Yeah, it's odd. Like I sound like Chris Penn's like a deep cut, but it's certainly a deeper cut than fucking remembering the name of goddamn Reservoir Dogs.
But during this whole time, while this is going on, Richard Ayoade is Zero is like inside. He's piloting Mando's ship, which just aesthetically that is nothing. Like I kind of wish they would have given him a cool ship. His ship is pretty. Just there.
I like it.
I mean? Like it makes me think of the Battle Beyond the Stars ship. I don't know if you've ever seen that. If you just Google the cover of that, it looks like a pair of testicles, basically. But it's just I don't know. It didn't. It's the first time I've really thought about it because it's not worth thinking about. It's a pretty nondescript ship.
Well, I like it because it reminds me of Battle Beyond the Stars. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Because it looks like the space teapot, Slave One that Boba Fett drove in the original trilogy.
Yeah, I guess I like the design.
Not that it looks like, but it's that
with the things on the side. But yeah, I not that I want him to be like, oh, I'm in Slave 2 actually, but I don't know. It just seemed like a not that interesting design.
I mean, you're right, but I kind of like that for a Mandalorian. I felt like I've had Star Wars in my brain my entire life, so like I have the equivalent of like. Like a German car or whatever. Like there's a Mandalorian spaceship. Like it's just that's there. Even though theoretically Boba Fett's probably
like
not actually
I'm getting what I want out of it. Yeah. But he's on the ship. Zero's on the ship, like getting information about Mandalorian, like hacking into his personal files and seeing his nudes and finding out about the baby.
Yeah.
So then that kind of comes into play, which is that's a fine use of Baby Yoda. As like his vulnerability, they don't do a whole lot to like. They for a second it seems like they're going to do some Home Alone shit, which I was very nervous
Oh,
about.
yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that way. Yes.
Yeah, it felt like it was definitely going to go that way. But so that's all happening while they're on the ship, while they're on the prison ship trying to rescue this guy, Quinn, which they finally do, who's apparently the Twi'lek's brother. Another Twi'lek.
Yes. Yeah, so in the least surprising double cross in the history of double crosses, they double cross Mando and they lock him in the cell where the guy Twi'lek was trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like how unsurprised he is. Like there's no like, oh, I can't believe he's like you could almost see ugh, crap. I knew this was gonna happen, but yeah, it totally happened. Like I was sort of hoping it wasn't gonna. It was a nice little thing, but I love his escape. This whole sequence is delightful, where he turns into a 1980s horror movie villain.
Yes, like it's reminiscent of Rogue One's Darth Vader turn at the end of that, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like this, it's totally got this horror movie. It's like almost like to make another reference, Batman Begins, when his first experience as Batman, you
Very
see him
much
as
so.
more done like a horror movie, and I like that.
Oh wait, that's the scene with Harvey Bullock that's in this too. Oh my God, the worlds are collapsing.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, so it's like it's supposed to be like this is how bad he actually is, and it's awesome, but then they completely undercut it because he seemingly takes out all these people, and then you find out at the end that they're in they're in the cell. Which, like, why? He blew up Jawas for nothing. He is supposedly this hardened killer. These guys screwed him over. Why?
I think this goes back to,
you cowards.
I think this goes back to our kind of levels of sentience conversation with the Jawas. I think it's just kind of lower down the food chain. He doesn't care about murdering straight up, but
yeah, it just seemed weird because particularly because he goes back to the dude. Ranzar Melk, Mark Boone Jr., and is like, hey, I brought the guy back. Give me everyone's share. Like, no questions. Shut up. And then he leaves, and Mark Boone Jr. is like, okay, kill him. And then as he's leaving, he realizes that Mando had planted the tracker emergency thing on him, so all these X-Wings come to attack him. So it's okay to blow them up, but the guys that actually screwed you over...
Well, I think Mark Boone
jail.
Jr. is the guy that screwed him over. So, like,
fair enough, but I mean either way, like, why?
I guess because he's going after the architect, not the foot soldiers. Maybe he sees himself because he is a bounty hunter and has done some despicable shit. He's like, I've been paid to do some fucked up shit before too. It's not on them.
But I think you're just leaving behind some powerful enemies.
Yeah, no, that's true. And maybe they'll come back because they're so deep characters that I would like to see Bill Burr come back.
I would totally like. I don't really care to watch this show anymore. But if there was an episode with these guys again, I would watch it.
Let's talk about episode 7, The Reckoning.
The Reckoning. This is the. The last couple episodes almost feel like a two-parter because.
Oh yeah.
It is his return, and this is, I think, is in retrospect even why I like Chapter 6 even more, is because otherwise this. I think I said it either in the last episode or the first one that it kind of felt like one of those old like miniseries, ABC miniseries thing, like It or something, where the main plot line kind of you start to realize how much it's been spread out over 8 episodes. It's like, boy, it didn't need to do that at all. And I know they're varying lengths, but
I think the last 2 episodes are far stronger than the first 2. But I think the same
100%.
The same problem happens where episodes 1 and 2 probably should have been one episode, or flashbacks in another episode. Mm-hmm. Not flashbacks, but you know what I'm saying. Like it could have been handled differently. 7, 8, I think it's the same thing where not necessarily one episode, but maybe they make this like a feature length. No, not feature length, but just.
Like how they'll do like a supersize
something
episode.
like that. Because I like there's no part of 7 and 8 that I actively don't like, but there's a lot of like, this is happening. That I think they could have edited it. It could have been one really good thing, and it came out. Do it Topher Grace style. I'm telling you, John, you do this because you knew how to edit. Edit these into one good episode, and I think it's an incredible episode. And
I was going to make this exact same point. Like I think you could probably get rid of this one. Get rid of Chapter 6. Get rid of probably the gunslinger episode as well. But just take those, you probably need him back on the as much as I don't like the episode, the Seven Samurai planet, just because you need to set up what's her face, the drop trooper. Yeah. But like you could probably cut that all down into an interesting, or at least a peppier. It'd be long, but it would be better.
Yeah, I think episodes 1 and 2, you make that one episode. Episode 7, 8, you make that one episode, and keep everything else, because then it's like a 6-episode run. So I think it goes, but I like everything that happens here, and the stuff I don't like. It's not that I have a strong dislike of it, so I'm kind of all right with it. It's just there's some spots that are a little boring, and I think the boring kind of takes away from. There's some emotional hits that happen in 7 and 8 that.
There's one that I actually enjoyed, but it did make me think at the beginning when he gets, because he's flying and he gets a message from what's his name, Grief Karga. Yeah, Carl Weathers doing the holo thing, and I think holo communicators, I don't know what they're called exactly, they need fun filters like Snapchat. I think I would like to see Carl Weathers have like little dog ears.
Oh no, John!
Crazy glasses.
John, they do. That's like Grief Karga is actually a Twi'lek. He's using the Apollo Creed filter that came with the holo chat.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
Right, for Rocky 11 when they finally made that in the Star Wars universe.
So yeah, Carl Weathers sent him the holo thing, basically like, yeah, my bad working with this guy. Apparently, this ex-Nazi that I decided to work with, turns out, yeah, he's taken over the place. Like, could you maybe come back and fix this? Like, sorry. And
boy, is my face red. So I teamed up with him.
I like it, and also I like his. Yeah, you shot me. I tried to kill you. We're square, right? And I like how that doesn't feel backstabby. That feels like, yeah, we're just bounty hunters. This is the kind of shit we do.
That's kind of how I felt about the Ranzar Melk thing, where, why are you killing that guy? When it's just like, hey, it's the game, when I would have... I'm just saying I'm a better warrior than the Mandalorian is kind of, it's inarguable. I'm kind of, whatever, but I just wanted to...
I would say this. Having been hit in the face with both of your flamethrowers, wink, yours was stronger.
Yes, thank you.
So Mando's like, all right, I got to stop by and grab my friends on the way because shit's about to go down. Goes to grab Kara, is that her name?
Sure.
It's Shock Trooper lady. And she's fighting a Darth Maul in a bar tied to him with a laser. And
yeah, it's like space.
I love it. I love it. It's so. I know I've said this a million times, but I've missed Star Wars so much. And some yoke swole lady beating the shit out of a Darth Maul while tied to him with a laser for fun is so fucking Star Wars. That is so the cantina. It's like, oh yes, this is what I love, and it's the parts that, because obviously there's some flaws in the series, but the parts that sneak through that you can tell the people that made this loved Star Wars. It just pleases me so deeply because I've been hurt so much by what happened to that series.
I think they missed a good opportunity because when because he finds her and then he's like, well, I need someone to like maybe take care of the baby and stuff. That like Baby Yoda doesn't poop or go to the bathroom, and they could have done a funny diaper changing thing where he's trying to change the diaper and the pee goes up and he misses it, but then Yoda force bends it to hit him in the face. I think they. I
mean, I know you're saying this to be to be a cad. I mean, honestly, I would really find that funny. Yeah, like as much as I would feel like that's below me to laugh at, I would really laugh at that a lot.
If they leaned into it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like much in the same way that they just with the last episode, they just went, "Yep, we're doing this." If they just went, we have a baby in a movie. We got to do a funny pee scene.
So, she decides to join in because they're fighting Imperials, which is nice. And then they fly by to pick up Nick Nolte. He's like, here, we'll give the baby to him. Queel. His name's Nick Nolte. This is, so you said, they did Dirty by IG-11 early in the series when he got killed.
No. I thought they did, I thought it was IG-88.
Oh, okay. All right, well. IG-11, we talked about before. How do you feel about him being reprogrammed to be a nurse?
That's fine. I didn't need the training montage. Because I don't particularly care about this character, and so when it's like, and I reprogrammed him, and here's me training him, I'm kind of going, all right, get on with it. It was cute enough. It was fine. It wasn't bad. I just don't think it was
I think
necessary.
you're confused. I don't think that was in the show. I'm pretty sure that's where in the show they had me playing Scrabble against my friend Colin on my phone, right? Like that was all the TV was me playing Scrabble against Colin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Some of the show is meant for you to be.
Because that's one of those. There is no reason that made it to the final cut. That is
I don't. And this is another Deborah Chow episode, and I do think it is sort of imbued with some warmth, and it's a genuinely, it's fine. It's a lovely little piece, but I couldn't help but think, why am I watching this? This is all information you could have told me with a line, and it would have meant as much.
Yeah.
Because I think I know I think it's supposed to deepen your appreciation of this character for what happens later, which fine, that's fair enough. But I just
you didn't need the flashbacks. It's fatty. Oh, you know what we skipped though is I referenced it, but what I loved, and this is the thing that I thought would make you hate Baby Yoda less. Because again, I said before this started, at no point did I think you were going to like Baby Yoda. I said you were going to like him more than you liked him going into the show for just knowing him from the internet. How'd you feel about him force choking shock trooper lady?
I like the idea that he's a psychopath, but it doesn't really I don't know. I guess not much. I guess is the answer. I hope they do more with that.
See, I liked it quite a bit for a number of reasons. One, I hate in Star Wars, and this is one of the few things I don't like about the original Star Wars, but they don't go into it so much, is that the prequels kind of solidified it to ruin it, is that there's only light and dark. There's no in between. And I like how Baby Yoda is this kind of quantum state that can be light, dark, or indifferent, which I like. So he's doing the thing that Siths are supposed to, it can only do, choking people, but yada yada. But I also, the reason I brought this up is not so much that he chokes people, which I do like that he shows a Sith thing, is from a screenwriting perspective of that's only there because he heals someone later in the episode. Is that he shows one power to the other. Now, if this were an attractive lady, they would call her a Mary Sue. But since it's an adorable puppet, nothing comes of it. Because he just shows two spectrums, the most powerful version of what they can do, other than force lightning.
Well, I think in this case, it's not as much of a Mary Sue because he is this unknown quantum thing. You know that he's got some kind of force thing, but you know that everyone's after him, so he does have these powers. It's I wouldn't call the awful elf woman from Bright a Mary Sue. You know, she was just this dumb. She was a giant baby that had powers, and I think it's kind of the same thing where since he's not this fully formed thing, and you don't really know what's his story is. I understand what you're saying, and I think there's some truth to it. I just think he's a little bit more amorphous even than that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not even saying I think that. It's just I'm kind of positing the idea. Although to be fit,
no, and I understand your point, and I think, like I said, I do think there's probably an argument that could be made about that better than the one you're making.
Now, can you edit this in where it's going to be funnier? Though in Yoda's case, it would be Sue Mary.
Nice. You know what? I'll put the setup in the. See, okay. Here's the thing.
So dumb. So back on Navarro, they're talking to Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers, he needs a new vest because there's still a blaster hole in his. But he says hackles really well, which I can't even. Yeah,
he has a lot of stupid expository dialogue in this, but I like the way he does it.
Listening to him talk, it rises my hackles. The way. Oh boy,
yeah.
I like me some Carl Weathers. I never thought I'd fall so in love with Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
he's the guy from that awkward bulging arm meme.
Yes, yeah. We're a career playing other characters like Action Jackson.
Oh yeah, that other guy with huge arms. Yeah, and then. He finally meets Baby Yoda for the first time, and it is delightful. Carl Weathers plays it as Grief Karga has a character. I think Carl Weathers weirdly did a character study on him, so his reactions are interesting. Where it's there's these layers of fakeness to the character purposefully, to try to kind of hide behind, obfuscate what his real opinions are. And him falling for Baby Yoda, I thought was kind of delightful. where it's just like, so this
Sure.
is the little thing that's been causing all this, and you kind of see him going to be like, oh fuck yeah, of course you would, fucking stab me in the back with this thing. Look at it.
Look at him. Yeah.
It's like a fennec fox mixed with a baby. It's
but we don't know if we covered this, that IG-88, or I'm sorry, IG-11 has now been programmed to care for the baby. And I did like, I did like the little depth they gave to Queel about, which again they didn't manage to do in a whole bunch of flashbacks, about how he worked for the Empire, but he was basically like, he was essentially slave labor, but what's there's a name for it.
Indentured servitude.
Indentured servitude. That was basically his thing, and that like I don't know, that just those tiny little exchanges with him, and some of it's just Nick Nolte's gravelly ass voice. I thought were very effective.
Yeah, no, I like that. The only thing I didn't like about it, and it's again, the prequels ruin everything. Whereas like I worked for the Empire for 3 of your like pity human lifespans or something like that.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. We watched the Empire get made. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, there's
like the time doesn't work there, kid. Like, sorry, I watched Sheev Palpatine take over.
Yeah, there's a lot. Maybe he doesn't think Earth people.
Yeah, maybe he thinks that. Yeah, Earth people.
They're not on Earth, so maybe Star Wars people don't.
That's true. Yeah, maybe the Mandalorian is like 87 in his years.
Yeah. There's some time things I don't understand, like how they don't know what Jedi are, which I don't remember if that happens in this one or in 8, but they seem like Mando seems surprised to learn what a Jedi is, and that seemed odd.
Well,
to me.
Yeah, I thought about that, but so then the prequels, we're watching everything from the Galactic Center. They're like everything's based out of what's the name of they're like the planet that's at one city?
Coruscant?
Yeah, something like that. Coruscant.
Yeah.
Edit out you saying that in such a dumb way. I'm embarrassed for both of us.
Yeah, no, I will.
Yeah, you should be embarrassed that you obviously only know that from a book and read.
What here's the thing is I'm going to do, because we're recording separately, is I'm just going to say it Coruscant and then edit it in later.
Okay, so anyway, they're on Coruscant and you're fuck me up.
They're on crescent rolls.
I think kind of outer rim shitty planets. I'm fine with them not knowing about Jedi. Like, or knowing about Jedi powers.
I just think, I don't know. I just think, like, the Empire fell. Like, that's got to be news traveling.
No, but the Empire falling to the Rebels. So there's a Rebel called Luke Skywalker that blew up the Death Star. Like, say that part gets out.
Yeah.
You don't need to know about his Jedi powers. You know, like, the magic part of it. I'm fine with kind of outer rim areas not knowing about the kind of magic aspect of the Force. Like, there's an argument to be made that, at least in A New Hope, the Force could be bullshit that Ben Kenobi is making up. Because the only spot of the Force in the original movie is him tricking the guards into letting them through. So that could easily just be like this, kind of Force of personality kind of... And the fact that that's the most recent iteration. So the last time there was a shitload of Force users was 20-something years before he was born in another part of the solar system.
But I mean, I guess because, and I don't know what canonically the line is now, but so this takes place after the Empire has fallen. Didn't Luke start some Jedi academies and stuff?
No. Because I think the current canon is the one from the movies.
Where he just had
he basically had a few students and then he tried to murder one and all that dumb plot happens. All that trying to build the shit that we grew up reading, the Jedi Academy books and the Zahn books, none of that shit happens in the current accepted continuity.
I see. Well, fair enough. It just felt a little weird.
It does, but I'm not annoyed by it. Because
I would get it more at the start of the stupid new one, not the Last Jedi, the one before the Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the one that's the dumbest, and the prequels fucked it up. I keep saying that, but is Han Solo is basically like a fucking is like a flat earther creationist. Whereas I've been one side of the galaxy to the other, and I've never seen no crazy force that binds all things together. you were alive when Order 66 happened. Like, no, you 100%, if you don't believe in the Force, being Han Solo's age in episode 4, you're some fucking weirdo 5,000-year-old Earth creationist nonsense. Like, you were 100% weirdo wrong. Because that was when you were a kid. Jedis were still alive.
But that's the trouble with Empire. I watched a bunch of short films about the Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
There was an event locally that happened in a park, and they were showing these movies. And there was this one where this guy just went with a famous picture of the dude standing in front of the tanks, and asked different people, other Chinese people, like, what can you tell me about this photo? And there were a lot of people that were just like, they know what it was, but they're like, I don't know. These are some tanks. I think they're tanks. I don't know when they were made. We didn't have any external wars after the 80s, so that's weird. But yeah, that's all I can tell you. Or someone would just directly be like, I don't want to talk about this. So, maybe under Imperial rule, you can't talk about the Force.
But I'm assuming those people are asking aren't the age, like, this would be like if Tiananmen Square happened, like if you ask people in China 3 years after Tiananmen Square whether or not...
Right, but I mean, there are people that were alive when it happened that he's talking to. These aren't just like... This isn't like jaywalking, where, he's finding the dumbest people ever, but...
No, okay, yeah, all right, fair. Okay, no, it's fine. Yeah, I don't buy it, but that gives me enough plausible deniability that I could accept it. Yeah. But I still think that makes him like a weird... It's just the prequels were stupid. And,
no, I prefer the flat earther.
Well, I mean, that's really it, because he was... So if Han is, what, like 30, 35 in episode 4, mm-hmm. That means that he was in his teens when the old Republic fell. Like,
Yoda's a baby at 50. Maybe Han is only 8. Maybe humans.
Maybe Corellia. You age all fucked up. Yeah. All right. So anyway, they go camping and fucking dragons attack them because it's a dumb scene, but it's worth it for me when Carl Weathers goes, he's trying to eat me, when Yoda walks over to try to cure him. I love Carl Weathers.
That was funny. Yeah, everything that led up to that, the whole thing. I've seen a couple of stupid horror movies that have this kind of night attack from the monsters or whatever, and it just was, again, as much as I generally like Deborah Chow's work here, it felt really like it kind of reminded me of the bit in Ed Wood where Bela Lugosi is supposed to be laying in the octopus thing and he's flopping it over him.
Oh yeah,
not to that level, but it just felt kind of chintzy.
Oh yeah, it was awkward. It's weird because these are scenes that I would, if it were on Supernatural or some networky show where you're like, oh well, you have to make X number of episodes that have to be X number of minutes an episode. I wouldn't think twice about that. Of course, you just had to do that. That's. But these are. Right. As far as I know, you just kind of choose your own adventure and how long they go and what they look like. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they needed to have this moment where Yoda could heal, but and I'm sure that there were budgetary constraints and whatever, but it wasn't bad. It just felt a little.
No, it was in the fact that we're essentially in a 2-parter. We burned 4 minutes where right. But I mean, I think it's worth it for Carl Weathers going. He's going to eat me. I love a stately old dude that's just basically still badass, being terrified of Baby Yoda. I enjoyed it greatly. So Mando, now that he's got his friends in place, goes to visit the client, Werner Herzog.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked every time we talk about Werner Herzog on the show how much we want to do an impression of him. And I need to tell you this. No one in the history of mankind, no one ever or will again say open the pram so menacingly.
That is true.
It is
and just the fact that he called it a pram was
highlight moment of it. If there was a BuzzFeed article of the top moments of Mandalorian and number 1 was Werner Herzog saying open the pram, I would have zero argument with that list because I've never been more pleased with the pronunciation of, oh God, Werner Herzog just hits it out of the goddamn park.
Werner Herzog, his line, may I offer you a libation to celebrate the closing of our shared narrative? If that was not him saying it, my eyes would have rolled out of my skull. Like, I don't know if that was a Herzog ad lib because that just sounds like something he would say. He might not have even known the cameras were rolling.
I think a lot of his dialogue is when they realize it's Werner Herzog, They Herzog, like they chose, like they changed the font from Arial bold to Herzog. Like it is, boy, are they Herzogian lines, and oh boy, he kills it.
Well, and the way, like when he's talking about how great the Empire was and how there was peace and all this stuff, just zooming into his little beady eyes, it was wonderful, just menacing. Love that guy. And then they do the goddamn. I hate this, and like I want to say that more Marvel shows did it, but I know for sure Luke Cage did it, and I know several video games have done it where they're like, "Oh, you thought this was the bad guy? No, he's dead now. This is the real bad guy." And it's like, why am I downgrading from Werner Herzog? And whatever. I thought that was a really dumb move. Just that, because it felt like supposed to be like kind of almost like a fake out. We're like, oh, here's the real.
Well, he does establish earlier that everybody answers to someone else or whatever.
Sure.
That I'm fine with Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon showing up. I don't like sacrificing Werner Herzog as a character moment for Moff Gideon. Now, I think because they knew they were going to get a second season, this is going to pay off in the long run for him as a character in the next season, but I don't think that's good writing for this season.
I did like because you see him, he has a hollow message from Moff Gideon that's like, oh, almost like the Emperor calling Darth Vader. But when the shooting starts, when they start like, right when the Mando and those guys put their plan in action, start shooting people, I like how the Moff is like, you see him like turn off the holodeck, like he's just like, well, good luck with all that. I'm out of here. And I like that virtual cowardice.
Yeah. Queel rides hard to get Baby Yoda back to the ship. And I got to tell you, I was genuinely upset when Queel died.
Well, I thought that the way they executed that, pun intended, I guess, was pretty great. How he's trying to call. Queel is supposed to have the baby back on the ship because the ship's got all these amazing protections on it. And the Mandalorian gets on his little calm thumb thing and it's like, Queel, and you just see the baby wrapped up, just like he looks like a dropped puppet. Even if you didn't cut to, you had to cut to Queel eventually, but like that shot told me everything I needed to know, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I really liked it too, and it's one of those. I said it in the first episode of the Mandalorian episode 6, that I liked that he hangs out with scumbags, and it's too easy to have. Well, we're scumbags, but we've got hearts of gold.
Right.
You can't pull that off all that often. And you pull it off with Queel, where he's not a scumbag, but he's an ex-Imperial guy. And him dying is like, oh no, there's weight to it because he's deserved. Now, if they had Bill Burr or Satan guy turn into a good guy, really, he's just doing it because his wife back at home has 13 kids in the brood.
Well, it's also not like a noble sacrifice. Like, dude got, and it sucks.
Oh, true. Yeah,
It wasn't just like he didn't have this heroic moment or something, like they got him. And that's like, of all the people involved, like, oh, you had to get that guy. That sucks.
And I think that's nice. I mean, that's good good storytelling.
Who doesn't love a dead Queel?
The only thing I like about this being 2 episodes is that they can do an episode break. Because when the show first premiered, you had to wait a week between episodes. Watching it streaming, that doesn't carry the same weight. But like when that happened and I had to wait a week, I'm like, whoa. That's not something I would have expected out of this show.
Yeah.
And it was nice. Yeah, it was interesting. Watching it streaming, that there's not as much weight because you can immediately watch the next episode. But where you had like 7 days, it's going to be like, oh, damn.
No, and I was thinking about that, about like why this was split up, and I'd forgotten that they did that. And I still kind of enjoy when shows kind of parse it out like that, because sometimes it's a little bit more fun. Sometimes it's frustrating, lost, but being able to binge it kind of covers up some of that nonsense. But sometimes it's, having that, like, what do you think is going to happen? Or like, in between seasons where things end in a cliffhanger and you're like, oh man, I cannot wait. Like, Better Call Saul's coming up. I'm super curious what's going to happen next. And then having to kind of like have that parsed out versus like, I'll just get it all at once. It's fine. I'm not doing anything today.
Mandalorian suffers watching it, not suffers, but it's worse watching it binging. Is when you had to wait a week in between episodes, this show functions better.
I can believe that.
I enjoyed watching it like kind of quickly, but I think because there are problems with it, but those problems aren't nearly as compounded when you've got a week to kind of forget. But when tonally you're going from one episode to the next, you can kind of like sit with them. And
yeah, I think that might also explain why some of my beefs with Watchmen is because I didn't have that time to in between.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Watchmen is much like that. Yeah, if I'd gotten to wait a week in between episodes, not that I would have liked the show.
They're still playing.
I think I would have hated
it
less.
Yeah, I think it's because you.
Yeah.
But I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently.
So 3 years on with me.
Oh.
I don't. Tell me what to think about the Trooper jokes.
I gotta watch someone beat the shit out of Baby Yoda, which is great. I mean, through a bag, but it still counts.
I did like that.
It took me a while to figure out, just on my own, that it was Jason Sudeikis. I had to look up later that Adam Pally was the other guy. One thing that bothered me about it was, when is this happening? Because it seems like, I mean, did Moff Gideon, which really that seems like a lazy bad guy name. You know what I mean? Like, come up with a goofier Star Wars name than Gideon. But
Gideon is a little lazy.
But like, was he somewhere else and then basically took the TIE fighter like on the planet and then like hopped in the TIE fighter like it was a chopper over this place? Because there's like, well, he just killed a whole bunch of people. We just saw him land in the last episode, and then it cuts to him just standing there. So when does this take place? When does this moment take place?
Well, no, in the last episode, Moff Gideon orders the murder of Werner Herzog, right?
Right, but like it ends, like the cliffhanger ends. Queel is down, but they're also trapped by Moff Gideon and his E-Web Jam or whatever.
Yeah, so I think while they're trapped, he's like, hey, you have X number of hours to get out. But he's basically arguing with the people that are on scene and like, fuck you, you're going to argue with me, and kills them. Okay,
because it just, it felt very weird to kind of like be like, here's this tense moment, now we're going back to this like yuck thing. Which I do not mind that necessarily.
I hate it.
But it's more just that it's the exact same moment. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just had a hard time kind of like, wait, this is happening, but he's still standing there just waiting for them to come out. Yeah.
No, I don't like the... I don't want to not like it, because I actually, in another show, I think this scene is good.
Well, it's
like I like them punching the Baby Yoda. Like, I like the jokes. Like I like the calm jokes of like, oh, he just murdered his whole platoon. Like, this is fun, but it doesn't work at all with what's going on in the main narrative.
Yeah, like it's a fun little human moment like that I think Taika Waititi, who did this episode, is good at, and you know what, some of the few bits I really liked in Thor Ragnarok are this kind of like, you know, just more conversational sort of things. But yeah, it felt oddly placed. It wasn't a, because the thing I immediately thought of is the Twin Peaks season 1 ends with Dale Cooper getting shot. Season 2, there's like 20 minutes of just nonsense of him laying on the floor. And I love it. It's ridiculous. But this kind of like that, like, we know you want to see what happened because everyone's in trouble. We're going to fart around with these guys for a bit. But because it just went right back to it, that's, I think, where my problem lies. Is that, and if it was detached from the rest of it, they weren't even communicating, like they were waiting for orders or something. I think it was just that communication issue for some reason bothered me about it.
I think you're describing my issue, but well, I think that's where I'm coming from as well. Because it's not, there's something awkward. I think it is that timing issue.
And I think, and then IG-11 shows up and lays waste to them both, and then takes the baby and is like, well, I'm going to go protect you by taking you into the line of fire. Which, okay. I mean, some of IG-11 stuff, I just kind of shrug and go, okay.
I do have to say, there's a great line of where he just snaps the arm of the stormtrooper, slaughters Jason Sudeikis and what's Adam Pally, and he's like, that was unpleasant. I'm sorry you had to see that. Somehow he's Irish in this. Hey, that was unpleasant. I'm Taika Waititi. I like that was unpleasant. I'm sorry you had to see that. It's a delightful droid joke, and you know, Star Wars is in my brain, and I find that fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I like Giancarlo Esposito. I can't help but feel like this character's just kind of Xeroxed Gus Fring, though. Like, it's just Gus Fring without the accent.
I think Giancarlo Esposito isn't great in this.
Because I don't think he has a lot to work with. Like
Yeah.
just having watched him recently in, and this was years ago, but in Do the Right Thing as Bugging Out. He's a totally different character, but like he's great. This it seemed like they like, hey, people like him as the bad guy. Like he's in some Far Cry video game that's coming out soon, and it's like, yeah, he's probably just going to do the same thing again. So he's going to be the junior Mark Boone Jr. of bad guys, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like there a lot of the other characters, like even Shocker Cara Zor-El or whatever the fuck her name is,
Cara Dune, I think.
Cara Dune, yeah. There and Grief Karga, where I feel like the actors did their homework and made up a backstory for their character and like put something into it that wasn't immediately on the page. I think Giancarlo Esposito didn't. It just, I don't know. He just kind of read the lines, and he didn't bring anything to the role, and that sucks because I love him. Like I think he's a terrific actor, but this isn't.
And perhaps next season they'll do more with him. But he was just like, I am the well-spoken bad guy who knows a lot, so you know that I'm dangerous. But it really didn't do much for me. But other than feel like a reference to a show I like, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking, well, I would rather watch him do that performance. So they're able. They spend a lot of time mentioning this giant gun, the E-Web vaporizer or whatever.
The E-Web heavy repeating blaster.
They say that a lot. They could have just set it up. It's like, a big gun. That seems bad.
Yeah, so they set it up, and Moff Gideon does the. He's like, Cara Cynthia Dune from Alderaan, Din Djarin. Which is the Mandalorian's name, which is like, I guess, a big reveal.
Yeah.
I realize that I don't give a shit about his name.
Yeah.
But here's what I do give a shit about. Disgraced magistrate Grief Karga. Yes. He's a disgraced magistrate, John. Yes. He used to be a magistrate.
Yeah. Then he got into.
Can we get a spin-off?
Yeah, I don't want to see his fall from grace. That would hurt too much. I like to see Carl Weathers succeed.
And then, John, you know what we get? Another flashback to the Mandalorians. Boy, this should have been one episode.
This flashback should not have existed. Like you have given us all this information. Like the bit at the end, like if you just hit it, just boom boom, like we see these same images again, but then you see the saving part, which was, the whole point of this was the Mandalorians coming for him and whatever. That's fine, but that whole opening thing, like, yeah, we know. I didn't feel any deeper connection to him being a foundling and losing his parents because I don't care. And they didn't. It just didn't feel necessary. Like, this character isn't developed enough for me to feel these kind of feelings, and you're wasting your time with this. And this isn't a substitute for that.
Flamethrower. I mean, basically, after this, they escape from the bar. I mean, it's set piece and things like that, but they try to escape. They can't because then IG-11 shows up and they get to escape. They get to that. They meet the armorer after seeing the pile of dead Mandalorian armor,
and she's just there scooping it up,
which I thought was kind of cool.
She's badass. She's one of my favorite characters in this whole thing. The Mandalorian.
I like that they're not spelling out what the Mandalorian code is, but like you can kind of pick up on it, where it's like, oh, I don't care if I die. I need to put this armor into the smelting thing and save as much. Yeah. Like I like how they're not hanging a hat on it, but you can kind of. They haven't given much detail, but you can build this kind of mythology again, very Star Warsy. I like that a lot, and they also have a delightful line from her. They said, with his old tales of Mandalore the Great and an order of sorcerers called the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that felt so Star Wars to me. Other than Jedi, but like, it's so Star Wars.
Is this before or after he takes his mask off?
This is before.
Okay.
No, this is after.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I thought he got injured during the
Oh, yeah, we should cover that. So they all run into the sewers, and he's like, just leave me behind. I'm fucked. IG-11's like, hey, I'm a baby nurse. I actually can fix people. I got to take your helmet off. It's like, I said that no living thing can take off my helmet in a very, very, very predictive line. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not a living thing. Okay, you can do it. And they show the Mandalorian's face, and it's, like a kind of handsome guy.
Yeah, it has all the...
Oh, my God!
It has all the oomph of peeling off a wet sock. Like, it's just like... okay. Like if he was like, I don't know, they did something to his face and it was super childlike.
I
like,
don't.
Anything like the Darth Vader mask reveal is so much a thing and like says so much about like the frailty behind all this stuff. Like, there's a human being behind all this. This is just like, yeah, here's this guy. Okay. Well, and then, but it's also just that like, I need to spray this thing on your head. Okay, you're fine now. Next scene. Like, why even have that then? What did that, I don't.
It was awkward. Yeah. And I think the problem is that from a story standpoint, I love that he didn't take his mask off during basically the entire season. And that's part of their mythology. I love that. I think that's a cool little bit. But that does, like, imagine 2 episodes into season 2 and you still haven't seen the lead's face.
Yeah.
It's going to keep building and building and building. And it would be even worse when you eventually see his face because there's no way to make it surprising because there's no backstory of, oh, his face is fucked up. He's just some guy that took the oath.
Right.
So there's no way to like make this unsurprising. So it's
just rip off the Band-Aid.
Like, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, maybe that's what happened. Maybe they could have made him like super, super pale.
Right.
Because he's never seen sun.
Yeah, like or just make him pallid.
The contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like make him look a little sickly or something because he's had this like something to kind of get across what happened or like give him like kind of wrinkly or something because kind of like if you leave your shoes on too much, your shoes like something. Yeah. But he just looks like that's fine. Like he's like kind of a handsome guy, but like he's got some like if you clean him up, he'd be good. Yeah. Like it's just maybe it is just a Band-Aid off kind of thing of. Well, we need this for the character, but also you don't want to build it up. But yeah, it was awkward.
But yeah, it just sort of it just sits there. Like there's his face. Here's the turd in the toilet bowl. That's his face. Moving on.
Skipping forward, this is the most important thing that happened in the season and makes this entire season worthwhile. Blacksmith lady. He's like, well, it is the way. You were a foundling, and you must take care of it. Which, by the way, takes away 20% of our annoyance at the flashbacks. Because the only reason he's a Mandalorian is because he was found by a Mandalorian, and it's now like an onus. And she's like, no, you can't give that thing in it. No, that's yours. You must take care of it. Which okay,
but I can see that. Like I get what it's trying to do, and I feel like though it might have been more effective to lead with that, like. In early episode, so then he feels more tied to the thing.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, where I thought rewatching the show I liked it better, was that now that I know that shit, rewatching the show, there's like this extra layer. Who cares? I need to talk about the most important part. No, is that you didn't interrupt. You're saying you know me well enough. When I say the most important part, I'm about to say the dumbest thing that's ever happened ever. He's like, oh, you do it? And she's like, well, what do you... So the blacksmith lady's like, well, you have to find its people and give it back. And Mandalorian says, and I quote, you expect me to search the galaxy for the home of this creature and deliver it to a race of enemy sorcerers. ... And she responds, this is the way. Fucking Star Wars. That is what I signed up for. That is Star Wars right there. That is jizz whaling at its finest.
You found a way to work it in there. That's
and the
great.
Fucking modal nodes. Search the galaxy, deliver this creature to a race of enemy sorcerers, and then deadpan. This is the way. It's so fucking good.
Speaking of sorcerers, though, like I don't like the Cara Dune refers to the Imperial soldiers as imps, and all I could think of was like tiny guys in like stocking caps and pointy shoes, being like, "Whoa!" And it seems so much less. I mean, I get that they would have like diminutive nicknames for them, but it just seemed, I don't know. They're supposed to be this terrifying thing. Calling them imps.
Speaking of crummy lines are the best things ever. Hey, John, have you trained in the way of the Rising Phoenix?
No, I haven't.
Jetpack! Motherfucker gets a jetpack. Yep. John, he has to return that people home, deliver to a race of enemy sorcerers, and you know he's going to do it on his Rising Phoenix motherfucking jetpack. The only way to make this show better, because this is where it's hit on all cylinders, the only way to make this better is you have the blacksmith have the best fight scene that's ever happened in a show ever.
It was a great fight scene.
It's really good.
And I even I like the little touches, like when she shatters off the stormtrooper's lower jaw thing. Like that was just great.
Yeah. That is a gorgeous piece of like what do you call that?
Fight choreography.
Fight choreography. Yeah. The only way to follow that up is to have an R2-D2 gondola droid that goes through lava like the fucking Willy Wonka.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing that I just went, okay. Like when it's the ship that's going through lava already, I'm like, seems weird, but okay, that's kind of cool. And then when there's this R2-D2 thing in the back covered in ash and rocks or whatever that looks broken down, and it turns on and stands up and it's like giant. And then then it's a gondola driver and it's like, this is couldn't you have the thing be like a hover skiff, or why is it a gondola guy? But I loved it. It was
Star
great.
Wars is doing it the dumbest way ever. That is God, I've never been more pleased by a droid design in my life. It's so fucking good.
It was pretty sweet. I like how spindly his arms and legs were.
So I'm going to hand it off to you here because I'm going to guess this is the part that affected you.
Oh yeah, deeply. IG-11 is like, oh hey, I conveniently remembered that my factory settings that make me blow up if I'm captured, and I figured out I'm not going to get out of here, so I'm just going to go ahead and walk through this lava, and there's a bunch of stormtroopers at the end of this tunnel. I'll blow them up, and you guys, remember me as a hero. And it's supposed to, like, I think, bring to a close Mando's droid racism arc that sort of existed, but it's like I don't care as much as this show wants me to care about IG-11.
Let me just correct you one little bit here. They established the shit out of his droid racism. All of your other sarcasm is 100% correct. This was really kind of schlockily done. If there's one thing you can say about Jin Jajarin is that he doesn't like droids.
He doesn't. No, that's fair. He doesn't like droids. I just feel like it wasn't. Some of it felt kind of, and we talked about it before in a deleted thing, but I wish they would have done more with it, I guess.
No, it's a little hacky, but I mean, honestly, I'm still high off the gondola droids. I'm like, whatever, this is happening.
I don't care. Was he going to be okay? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And then more Carl Weathers being just so great. Some of my favorite people are bounty hunters. He's so good. Because he wants Cara Dune to be a bounty hunter, and she's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. And it's so great, and it's so delightful. All the friends like now have their own jobs for season 2, and it's just, it's so great. And then he buries Nick Nolte, and I'm kind of sad. And then I have the note, because I know you haven't watched these shows. John, what the hell do you think happened with Giancarlo Esposito when he gets out of the TIE Fighter?
No idea. Well, he gets on top of the TIE Fighter and makes a cool desktop photo for nerds.
No, I know, but like, what do you think that? Why do you think he has that? What do you think that is?
The lightsaber kind of thing, the laser sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He pulled it off a dead body. I don't know.
Oh, it's so great, John. That's literally the Excalibur of the Mandalorian.
Oh, really?
That is the dark saber. That anybody holding that saber is the king of Mandalorians. At one point, Darth Maul, after he was resurrected from falling down that pit in episode 1, stole the darksaber with it and became the king of Mandalore. This is all in the cartoons. But it is this. I'm glad that nothing comes of it. It just looks like a dumb or whatever. It looks like a lightsaber. But it has so much impact to nerds like me that it's like, holy shit. So my note is, what the hell did normal people think is happening right here? Like.
Yeah, but I just kind of went like, oh, he's got like, is that a lightsaber? Because it kind of just looks like more like a regular sword. Well, I'm sure we'll find out more about that.
Yeah, that is the dark saber. At one point, a cartoon character voiced by Jon Favreau has it, and he fights Darth Maul, and it's delightful.
Ah, well, that's something to look forward to, I guess.
That happens in the past of this show, but
the future usage of the dark saber.
I mean, I guess I probably shouldn't have told you about that, but I mean, it's not really a spoiler because that show came out 10 years ago. Yeah, it's interesting to have that show up at the end. That was not something I was expecting as a deep cut Star Wars nerd.
That's exciting.
I wouldn't go that far, but like it was, it was nice to see. I would, on my list of what would happen. Yeah. All right, so that's it. We're
finally done.
Mandalorian.
Yeah. It's fine. I haven't. I liked it more as it went on, but I still not enough to recommend it. I think there's some great moments. It may, I would say go watch one of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, or failing that, just go watch Shogun Assassin if you only have an hour and a half.
Yeah,
and it could turn into a fine show. You know what I mean? Like it could be great. There's some decent stuff. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. So when I came into this, saying we should watch this for the show, my only prediction was basically this is sort of where I thought the best case scenario coming out would be for you to be at this point. And come on, you hate Baby Yoda so much less than you thought you were.
I still don't like him. I still would.
Oh wait, I never thought you were gonna like him. I'm not a fucking idiot. I said you hate him less than you thought you were going to. I don't hate him less. Because I like seeing how frequently, I guess let me put it this way: it's almost like a gun. In the right hands, Baby Yoda is fine. It's fine, but he's just used so badly so often. It's just like, particularly in those first 5 episodes, there's so many cases where he's just so cynically deployed to be so adorable, and I hate it. Yeah,
much like a gun is cynically deployed to be adorable. I'm good at metaphors.
I disagree with your opinion on yourself. Okay. I think you like it better than I think you're wrong about you.
Well, I mean, wouldn't be the first time. But if this first episode of the second season was just like people going medieval on Baby Yoda with a chain, I would not complain.
As long as they're SNL alerts.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So Mandalorian, we did it.
Jay, if you like Star Wars, absolutely, there'll be Star Wars stuff that you really like.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly recommend it, but in a we're in isolation, or at least people that want to care about the universe are, and you have time. It's not appointment television, to use an old term.
Right.
Like this isn't something that's going to change your view of anything. It is. I think it's delightful sci-fi and reminiscent of. It is carefully and lovingly made by people that love the same shit you used to, and that's the main thing that this reminds me of why I used to like Star Wars. And yeah,
I'm hoping in that, like, with this sort of initial story, so to speak, out of the way, that the future seasons have a lot more fun adventures than necessarily an overarching plot. Not a bad, it's not bad to have it, but it's just, I don't know, like any sort of like Star Trek series. I love some of the weird one-off adventures and stuff like that, and I hope there's a little bit more of that. All right, yeah, so that is The Mandalorian, and I think for next week, let's get as far away from space as we can to the shores of New England, to the old-timey days of The Lighthouse.
Wait, are we going New England or old-timey England?
New. It's old New England, so it's new to them.
Oh, yeah, and you're talking about Mandalorian making no sense. You're saying new, old? Pfft.
Yeah,
bullshit.
Well, then you will like The Lighthouse, I think.
Okay, good.
If this is any indication.
Now, is it going to turn me into Oscar Isaac?
Let's hope so, because that would be a lot more fun for the listeners. We can start doing a video cam thing. I'll be more excited when we hold hands.
Yeah, I could finally validate why I cut my stomach open to look at the steaks inside.
Yeah, you've been looking for that for a while, and I wish I could be more help for you in that, but I can only go so far.
Speaking of help, I'm going to stop being unhelpful. All right, tell them what we're watching.
We're watching The Lighthouse, the David Eggers movie from last year with Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson, and a lot of water. Yeah,
it's a heartbreaking work of staggering genius.
Yeah, the very same.
Isn't that David Eggers?
Actually, did I say David? Is Robert Eggers?
Yeah. Oh, well, I thought he just had. I just thought he had a hilarious name synchronicity.
No, I don't think they're related, but I just can't talk, which is good that I'm on a podcast. Yeah, so we'll be doing that movie next time. So until then, visit JazzPod at JazzPod on Twitter.
Oh yeah, wait, last licks. So there is a call-in number that I'm gonna get rid of soon because we never use it. It costs me money. So if you want, last chance to get in, 503-575-9118. 503-575-9118. You can leave a voicemail for us. Not necessarily last licks, but in the next coming And when I look at some statement and go, why am I paying $6 to Skype? And go, oh, fuck this, I'm canceling this thing. So try to get your calls in. And if enough people use it, I'll keep it on. I mean, it's only $6, but, you know.
Yeah, say hi. Tell us what you want to see on any of those formats. Reach out and say hello. And then we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.